Like most Canadian kids, BradLazarowich grew up playing hockey. At 16, while hanging around the rink after playing, Brad was offered $5 to referee for the Adams game that followed. Brad accepted, and the rest, as they say, is history. 4 years later, he made his way to the WHL, and in 1986, he was part of the crew that officiated the Memorial Cup in Portland. It was while in junior that he met another future NHL linesman, Shane Heyer.
We had a lot of fun together over the years. I was thinking one time we were in junior hockey back in Kamloops over 30 years ago, and we had a cab driver driving us to the rink, and when he found out what we did, he thought we should have an electric shock that we could use to shock the players so they would quit fighting. And still to this day, sometimes when we see each other, we'll laugh about that.
Lazarowich worked his first NHL game in Winnipeg in October 1986, and an electric shock would have proved useful in those rough and tumble days. Fights were commonplace, and breaking up those fights was part of the job. People talk about how tough hockey players are, but Brad Lazarowich's highlight reel is proof that being an NHL linesman is no cakewalk.
Matthew Barnaby now trying to make a end run around the pile, but couldn't get going. Brad
Lazarowich is a big, strong boy, Brad Lazarowich, and he's going to put Barnaby against the glass.
Brad was one of the guys who was into fitness before it was even fashionable to be fit. He was always very good with his fitness, and I think that was one of the things that allowed him to be successful for such a long time. And he just performed at a high level for a long, long time.
Through many bumps and bruises, Lazarowich built a relationship with the players that was based on mutual respect and survival. He worked 1,971 regular season NHL games, more than any other active linesman, and 7th most all time. He has also officiated 204 playoff games, including appearances in 3 Stanley Cup finals. He worked the World Cup of Hockey in 1996 and 2004, as well as the 1996 All-Star Game and 2014 Heritage Classic. In April 2016, 30 years after working his first NHL game in Winnipeg, Brad Lazarowich's career came full circle.
I didn't know your first game was here.
Yeah, that's why I came full circle.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just in 30 years, it's good enough. I really.
What year did you start?
86.
86. So 4 years old.
Thanks, Jared. I just cheering me up, man.
I had the pleasure of working with you for 25 years in the National Hockey League. You brought passion, professionalism, the knowledge of the rules. Each time we worked together made my job that much easier. You were the true professional person on the ice and off the ice. Speaking of off the ice, how about our doubleheader happy hour in Denver? How about our gambling trip to Reno, Nevada, and Alcatraz in San Francisco? Brad, I enjoyed each and every day, whether we were on the ice or off the ice. You made hockey and my life away from home that much better.
He just performed at a high level for a long, long time. You know, he worked numerous Stanley Cup Final Series, he worked All-Star games, he worked World Cup games. He was just a real good mentor and a role model for a lot of our officials in general. He just was always a professional and always performed at a high level, and also brought humility to the job. You know, it was never about him. He just wanted to do a good job every night, which he did. So congratulations, Brad. Well deserved.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, brother.
You got a lot of hockey left.
I know. I got no hockey left.
Congrats,
Thanks, buddy.
Brad says he misses the grind, but now gets to spend more time with wife Catherine and daughters Kimberly and Sarah, who he calls the most important parts of his life. Please welcome 2017 BC Hockey Hall of Fame honoree, Brad Lazarowich.
Come on up, Brad. Bernie Pascal is going to make the presentation.
I'm pretending right now I'm Justin Trudeau because he speaks really well and I don't. Got to put these on so I can see what I'm doing. Before I start, it's kind of funny, you know, we always sneak in the back door, work the games, do our job, leave, and then it's a good job for us, right? So to be up here, to see all these faces looking down at Scion Arena, I'm used to being on the floor and working and not having to do all this, so just bear with me, okay? I'm going to ramble on a little bit, but I think I'll try to make it work. I would like to take this moment to thank the Hockey Hall of Fame Selection Committee for their tremendous honor. I would like to personally thank Rob Schick, Bruce Judd, Bernie Pascal for all their hard work and dedication to the BC Hockey League, to the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. Thank you to Andy Oakes, Dixon Ward for a great night yesterday and the bottles of wine that we got. Congratulations to all the other inductees, Tony Tanti, John Shannon, Ron Toigo, Dave Nonis, Thomas Gradina, and the Powell River Regals. My many years in hockey have connected me to some of these inductees. Tony and I were involved in the last bench clearing ball in the National Hockey League. I actually have pictures of him hiding behind me. Dave and I were on the ice together when he played in the BC Hockey League, and our paths would cross at various times at the NHL level. I've known John Shannon for many years, and I've always respected his professionalism in the arena and on television. Thomas Gradine was a great NHL player who I respected, grew up watching on TV, and had the very fortunate to be on the ice with him his last season. Thank you to Ron Toigo for his commitment to the growth of junior hockey in British Columbia and to Canada. And congratulations to the Powell River Regals for their love of the game and bringing a championship to Powell River. It's a great city. I would like to thank Hockey BC for their commitment to the officiating program and their continued dedication to making it the best in Canada. It really is great out here. My officiating career actually started in North Delta in 1978. I had just finished playing a midget hockey game when a coach from another team stuck his head in our room and asked if anybody wanted to make $5 and ref his team's mite game, so I decided to give it a try, and it was something I really enjoyed. I was introduced to Steve Erickson, who was the officiating coordinator of officials in North Delta. Over the years, he turned out to be a great friend and mentor, and the main reason I was able to get through the tough times of officiating when you're younger. I was extremely focused on what I wanted to do for a career, that I actually put in my annual that you saw, that great high school picture, and that my goal was to be in the National Hockey League. I was able to move on quickly through through Junior B, the BC Hockey League, and the Western Hockey League. Along the way, I met many people who helped my early officiating careers. There was one person, though, in particular who really guided me, and that was Al Paradise. Al Paradise was a man that saw the game like no one else did and had a big impact on me. The Western Hockey League honors his name each year with an award for their top official. I attended many referee camps and was extremely dedicated to making it. I knew Rob Schick and his pursuit to the National Hockey League, and after he made it, it just pushed me even more to achieve my goal. In 1986, I would work the Memorial Cup in Portland, Oregon. The NHL had sent Jim Christensen, an outstanding NHL linesman, to scout the officials. Of the 7 officials there working that tournament, 6 would go on to the National Hockey League. Shane Heyer, Mike Civic, Brad Watson, Lance Roberts, and Mick Magoo. In August of that year, John McCauley, the director of officiating of the National Hockey League, would call my home and leave a message. You know those old answering service machines back in the day, right? My wife and I listened to it probably 100 times just to make sure it was someone not playing a joke on us. I called him back, and he offered me a full-time linesman's job. I was 23 years old. My first year was quite an eye-opener. The travel was tough, the game's tougher, and getting the respect of other officials and players even more challenging. I remember being on the ice with such great players that I found myself watching the game and not working it. I would admire a great pass from Paul Coffey up the middle to Wayne Gretzky, and then suddenly realize it was offside. I had some great mentors: late John D'Amico, Swede Knox, Jim Christensen, Kevin Collins, and Bob Hall. Bob lived in the Lower Mainland and would invite me over to his house to help me navigate through the off-ice part of the National Hockey League. He was a true pro. After I got settled in, I was able to get more confidence in my skill set and move on into the playoffs and the playoff rounds. In January of '96, I was selected to work the NHL All-Star Game in Boston. In the summer of '96, I was honored to be chosen to work the first World Cup of hockey. That was a great tournament, and I gained a lot of experience and confidence from it. I was fortunate to get to work over 200 NHL playoff games. I worked many Game 7s in the playoffs, but the one I'll remember the most is the 2003 finals between Anaheim and New Jersey. In Game 6, if we all remember, Paul Kariya would put in a clutch performance. He has 2 assists and 1 goal. But what's more impressive is after he gets knocked out by Scott Stevens right in front of me, he was able to come back and score a goal and continue. Game 7 was back in New Jersey. It was a thrill to work and to be on the ice when the Stanley Cup is won and presented. I would get the privilege of working 3 more Stanley Cup finals and 2 World Cups of hockey. I would finish my career where it started in Winnipeg. Like it said, I wanted to go full circle. I worked my last game with some really classy guys and good friends, Wes McCauley, Chris Lee, and Shane Heyer. What really blew me away in that game was how both teams played, how both teams' players, Minnesota and Winnipeg, as you saw, would come over after the game and line up. They both actually waited for me. It was quite impressive. Although to leave the ice that night was, I dreaded it, but I got through it. I would like to thank the National Hockey League. They allowed me to live my dream and to have a career I never imagined. A personal thank you goes out to Gary Bettman, Bill Daly, Jim Gregory, and Colin Campbell. I would like to thank all the bosses I worked for, John McCauley, Brian Lewis, Andy Van Helleman, Terry Gregson, and Stephen Wackham. I would also like to thank the many friends and fellow officials who have traveled here today. The National Hockey League Officials Association is a very special group of men who are teammates who support each other on and off the ice. So thank you guys. But it's time to move on. And find new challenges. Any hockey program or league cannot succeed unless the officiating program is strong and can match the level of play. I am very fortunate to be part of the National Hockey League minor league development team and to mentor new young officials. I'm extremely proud to be part of the BC Hockey League and work alongside John Grisdale and Trevor Alto. John is a compassionate, fiery commissioner who loves the game. I enjoy sitting in his office or with him at the game, getting his hockey perspective. Trevor has taught me a tremendous amount about skills needed off the ice and what it takes to be prepared to deal with situations related to hockey ops. Thank you both for your professionalism. This next part's going to be really tough. I didn't prepare any notes for this last part. We all need good parents. We all need family. We all need good parents. And I had good parents. But I had a mom that was supportive. She was a warrior. She would go to games and that I refereed. And we'd get in the car and she'd be driving home with me and she'd say, like, why do you do it? They hate you. They absolutely hate you. She says, I sit there and I slowly move to the back, you know? And I say, I just love it. I love being on the ice, you know? I love the battles. I love how the team works together as a team, as officials. And I want it as a goal. And that's what I want to do. And my mom didn't see me work in the National Hockey League. She died in '85, battle of cancer. So I want to dedicate that to her, this to her as well, okay? And to my family, we travel 20, 25 days a month as an official in the National Hockey League. I have 2 great girls, Sarah, 23, Kimberly, 27. You know, they never got mad at me when you missed a softball game, something at school, doing homework. You know, I would come home from road trips and they would just give you a big hug and let's jump in the car, Dad, we got to get going doing something. And this game takes a lot away from your family, and I was extremely fortunate to have 2 young girls that young ladies who grew up to be great young women and just fantastic. So thank you guys for that. And now The Rock. There's no question that for anybody to succeed in this business, you have to have a wife that's committed to the relationship, that works hard in it, looks after the kids, doesn't unpack your hockey bag, because I don't want to unpack it either, but unfortunately I have to, and just kind of pour it off to the side. But my wife, Catherine, has been there for 31 years. She's never complained, always wanted to use the airline tickets and Marriott points. But no, really, my wife was just everything. I love you, and you've been awesome. So thank you so much. Okay. And again, thank you so much for this honor. Like I say, you know what? It's not used to being up here, but I kind of like it now, actually. So thank you for everything.
Congratulations. Well done.